Dr. Corey here from Troughnell Rehab and Recovery. Thank you guys so much for tuning in if you're watching live on Facebook or if you're catching the replay on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. We were talking about levels of tendon injury in our tendon injury month, okay? So this month's video series, if you want to go back and start at the first video, define what a tendon is. The second video talked about the most commonly injured tendon in the body. If you don't know, go back and watch that. We're going to talk tonight about the levels of tendon injury and how you can kind of deal with them. And then next week will be our last video that talks about how to properly treat them through our three-phase plan. Okay, so I want to ask you guys, do you have any idea which level of tendon injury is the worst? If you do, put it down below. It's pretty obvious. You should know, especially if you watch a lot of sports. If you watch a lot of football, right now it's November 2023. There is a ton of this injury going on and going around the NFL. So you should know, put it down in the comments. Let's see like how much you watch football or how much you know about tendons. All right. So diving into the topic, there are 4 different levels of tendon injury. Number 1 is a healthy tendon, which is where you're starting at. Number 2 is tendinopathy, otherwise known as tendonitis in the former literature that we don't kind of talk about anymore. Number 3 is tendinosis, and number 4 is tendon rupture. Okay. So obviously you can get an idea of which one is the worst just through that kind of phase there, starting from good to bad. All right. And it gets bad quick. All right, so number 1 is healthy tendon. It means a tendon's somewhat thick, somewhat normal, right? There's no irritation, there's no inflammation there. There's no issues with it at all. It's pretty much how you're starting out, where you're an average weightlifter, maybe you play sports, you've had no issues with it, no past history, right? That's your baseline state. Number 2 is tendinopathy. This is the most common. It accounts for 30% or more of PT consultations and initial evaluations. Right? We see this so much. It's probably the number 1 thing that we see besides low back pain or neck pain, just because of posture issues. Right? And it's not truly called tendonitis anymore. Before, tendinopathy and tendonitis were the same thing. We used to use tendonitis more so than the word tendinopathy, but they changed the name from tendonitis to tendinopathy because they found it's not an actual state of inflammation. Okay. The tendon is really just irritated. All right. The irritation causes structural changes in the actual tendon. So if you keep irritating it, it can become enlarged, which leads us to number 3, which is tendinosis. Okay. Tendinosis means that tendon becomes enlarged and it kind of thickens. Okay. This becomes very hard to reverse, right, its effects. And if you get to this stage, it's not a good sign that it's going to recover fairly quickly. You can still recover. It's going to just take a longer period of time and more effort on your end. You want to really hit it on the head when you're in that tendinopathy or tendonitis stage. Okay, so it becomes more chronic when you've had it for months after months. It's going to be more likely to become enlarged and become a tendinosis. Number 4, and the final thing here, right? The worst level of tendon injury, like we mentioned in the beginning, is tendon rupture. A complete tear or an avulsion, which means the tendon gets pulled off the bone, is an example of this. So think of Aaron Rodgers, right? His first game playing for the Jets, he had an Achilles tendon rupture, which fits right into this category. And it happens when you have a strong calf muscle contraction, pair with the ankle moving rapidly into dorsiflexion or going back towards the knee. And that stretching tears the tendon off of the heel bone, which is what happened. Right? It can happen when you're landing from a jump and then you're trying to jump again. That's a really good, fair example of it. Or if you're stepping back with one leg and trying to push off and you feel a pop. Right? A lot of times you look behind you, and a lot of times there's not a lot of pain associated with it because that tendon and muscle contractile unit is completely detached from the bone. You just will have a lot of weakness and you won't really be able to put too much weight on that actual leg and you won't be able to do a heel raise, right? So you have trouble walking and taking those first steps. So, this will actually cause a deformity and it will shorten and ball up. Okay. So you have like a balling of that actual tendon, like a retraction, and it can happen with the biceps as well. That's another good example. A lot of strong men, I know we have a lot in this group, right? In our rehab and recovery weightlifters group, they'll tend to lift something or they'll overuse it. And that bicep tendon will retract and pull up to where it kind of originates on that kind of head of the humerus there. Okay. So a lot of times you'll have a big ball there and they call it a Popeye's deformity, just because, right? That's the way tendons get hurt and they get damaged. And a lot of times, again, there's no pain. And a lot of these guys just go on living life without having surgery because they don't always need surgery. It depends how strong their other side is and if they can still do what they want to do if they're competing or if they're working, right? All right. So that is the 4 levels, right? Healthy tendon, tendinopathy, otherwise known as tendonitis. Number 3 is tendinosis. Number 4 is tendon rupture, which is the worst. Okay. How do these truly happen? We talked about this before in prior videos. I'll quickly refresh on that. They happen from overuse. Okay. That's the simple way to put it. Usually from doing too much of one activity. So take pickleball, for example. I play a lot of pickleball. I actually started getting some elbow pain right here in the top of the elbow, otherwise known as tennis elbow, because I went from playing once a month to playing like 3 or 4 times a week. And that was just too much load on it. So I had to figure out other ways to kind of build up strength of other muscles around it to take away that pain. All right. The other way it can happen is if you stop doing an activity completely. So say you get hurt, maybe you've been playing pickleball 3 days a week and you get a crazy ankle sprain, you just can't play at all anymore. So you take 2 months off, let it heal, let it recover, do your rehab, then you get back into that activity and you might have jumped back in too soon and you try and do it 3 to 4 days a week like you were doing before, you're going to develop this tendonitis or tendinopathy issue, just like it would have happened the way I said if you just overused it. Okay. So you have to be careful and methodical with how you kind of slowly get back to that activity. And if you do have these symptoms and you want to keep doing it at the same kind of rate you were before, you have to use more rehab and recovery exercises to counter those effects. It's the simplest way I can put it. Okay, so quick video for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. We've had an awesome view of people. We've had a lot of people commenting on like why they don't stop working out when they're injured, which I love, guys, and I'm a huge proponent of that. And we've had a lot of people find our Achilles tendinopathy videos on YouTube. So if you need help with your Achilles tendon kind of rehab and recovery, try and watch those videos and go to our YouTube channel, which is Chaffner PTSC. You can see those there. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube. We really help pick up where traditional PT leaves off with you guys, and we help weightlifters return to 100%. All you need is a phone signal. We do that online with you, so you don't have to worry about driving to busy clinics, sitting in busy waiting rooms, or stupid copays from insurance. All right, thanks guys for tuning in. And next year, we're going to cover how to treat all 4 of these levels of tendon injuries through our 3-phase process. All right, thanks and have a great rest of your day. Bye.